and welcome back to the FPL Family YouTube channel. I'm Sam, and today I'm joined by the lovely Olivia, who is the host of the FPL Daily Updates show. Olivia, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't believe it's all come around again so quickly.
I know. I spoke to Anita a couple of days ago, and I was like, it seems so bizarre that it wasn't that long ago that we kind of said, oh, bye, see you next season.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's starting again.
Honestly, I got to the end of last season. I was like, oh, great. Don't have to think about my FPL team for months. And now it's literally a week before the season starts. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Can't wait to get as obsessed as I do every year.
And it's so hard as well, because at the moment, of course, we've still got transfer windows open, so everything's kind of still happening. We had the Grealish move yesterday, like still so much kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
But picking an FPL team actually feels really complicated this year. I think it's really hard.
I think picking an FPL team every year, Sam, is so hard. Honestly, I get to it and I'm like, oh, here we go again. And I swear it gets harder. Like every year, those players that you will always want to have will just go up 0.5, and it makes such a difference to like your squad in general. But this is why we love it.
I know, it's why we play, I guess, isn't it? Because we love the drama of pre-season, kind of going, I need all of these premiums. And you go, oh, I've got 3 million left and I need 5 players. Like, that's got to give here. But I think, we'll talk about Grealish in a minute because he's sitting there in your team. But let's start, as always, with the goalkeepers, because I think the goalkeeper position is actually one of the most interesting this season, because I am yet to speak to anyone who's gone double or has even gone for a set and forget premium option. Everybody seems to have gone in with the cheaper guys. And I really like the two that you've picked. So you've obviously got rotating 4.5s there with Sanchez and Gaeta from Palace.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on kind of rotating? Do you normally have rotating 4.5?
So I was like, for as long as I've played the game, I've always had rotating keepers, because I've always just felt like, you want a choice of two fixtures, and if someone's got City, I would always go for the other keeper. But saying that, towards the end of last season, I wanted to get Martinez in, and the only way to do that was to go to a 4 million other keeper. Turned out Fraser Forster actually ended up playing and actually getting some points. I think I had Fraser Forster actually for the game against Liverpool when he actually kept a clean sheet, which was madness and very, very lucky. But so for that, I assumed that Forster wouldn't have been playing, so that's I did go for just having Martinez. And this season I do want Martinez. That's why I've gone for a Villa defender, because I did want a Villa defender or keeper in my team. But it's just everyone's so expensive now. But, spending just that much more million on a goalkeeper affects your whole outfield team completely. And I went Sanchez because he was brilliant for the back end of last season with Brighton. They've got some nice fixtures, Brighton, as well. And I'm probably going to play Sanchez most of the time. But I also think Guaita's a brilliant keeper. And with the additions they've made defensively, I think they'll be a lot more solid next season. So that was my thinking with those two. And out of all of my team right now, I think those two are probably I'm set with.
It's interesting because I normally do this. So normally in most seasons, I'll go 2 4.5s, let them rotate. And then I panic midway through the season when there's one player like Martinez last year, and I go, right, I need to find budget for that, and then hopefully there's enough team value elsewhere that I can kind of get up there, and it works out okay. But this year I'm kind of so torn because there's so many players across the rest of my team that I think an extra 0.5 would be really handy. It would help me upgrade. So like you've got the same as me at the moment, looking at your defence, because you've got Roberts in there, and I would really rather have Trent than I would Robbo. So the extra 0.5 that I can save by doing the 2 Watford keepers kind of makes me go, well, do I just go, all right, some weeks I'm just going to have to accept that I've got Backman playing against City or against Liverpool and hope for some save points in amongst the chaos that will undoubtedly come. But is it going to be better to do that than it is to, say, have a pair of rotating keepers? Like, would Trent offer me that much more than Robbo does? And that's where the dilemma comes, I think, with the keepers, because yes, you can go rotating 4.5s like you've got, and I think those two are the best of the 2 4.5s that you can rotate. But then there are the options of the 2 Brentford keepers who you can get for 8.5, and then you've got the 2 Watford keepers that you can get, and it's like, oh, well, do I just basically sacrifice that spot?
Yeah.
Particularly if I'm not planning to bench boost for a while, like there's potential there, I think, for that to be okay, and like you say, try and cover it with defenders rather than having that kind of premium keeper. And those 3 defenders that you have there look like really, really great options, particularly for these opening 3 games of the season.
I think, do you know what, Sam? Honestly, I wildcard 2nd, 3rd game week every single season. So I'm basically just setting my team up for the next 3 game weeks, and I'm going to wildcard and change it anyway because my team's done rubbish. That's usually how it goes. But those 3, Luke Shaw, the fixtures were just an absolute sold, 5.5, 100%. And that wasn't a no-brainer, and he will be staying in my team. Like you, I probably did want to go Trent over Robbo. I think as much as, you know, Robertson does offer going forward, I still think Trent offers just a little bit more, hence obviously why I think he's 0.5 more, isn't he? But I think, like you, if I desperately wanted to do that, I would probably sacrifice one of my keepers, just like a 0.5, and then just have one of them, say Sanchez, play the whole time,
which you could do for the first 6 game weeks or so with Sanchez. You could absolutely just play him, particularly if you're planning an early wild card. So it is doable for you, I think.
I don't plan an early wildcard, Sam. It just honestly happens. I always look at my team game week 1. I think this is great. I'm going to be fine. And then it honestly gets to like game week 3, the first international break, and I'm like, nah, I've got to change this.
What we're learning here is that you're actually the reverse of me then, because I always look at my team in game week 1 and think, what have I done? And then it goes well. So I end up with a late wildcard, but game week 1 is always awful. Like I never come out of game week 1 well. It's always like either average or bad. Like it's never good. But equally, it means that it tends to be all right for the next few weeks. So we kind of, maybe we need to do this together. Maybe we'll be all right.
Maybe, it would work really well. What was I going to say? And also Matt Target, I really want, that's what when I'm talking about Villa, I really wanted a Villa defender purely for those 3 opening 3 fixtures. They're just brilliant. I'm literally got them here: Watford, Newcastle, and Brentford. So I know obviously games are going to be tough, but when you're looking at the attacking threat he poses as well, for those 3 games at least, because then they've got a run of really difficult games, Villa.
They do.
And in that instance, you'd probably want someone like Martinez over Target, just because he gets save points. He makes so many saves, and I don't think that's going to change much going into this season. He's always amongst the bonus points. If he keeps clean sheet, he's almost always in double figures, which is mad for a goalkeeper.
And it's painful when you don't have him. It's painful.
Last season I had to get him in, and then one of my friends got him in, and then he stopped getting points. I was just like, oh, get him out of your team so that we can all go back to enjoying his double-digit hauls.
Those moments where he would haul and I didn't have him, and it was just like you just watch your rank plummet every time Villa gets a clean sheet, and it was like I just have to suck it up and just do that transfer because it's killing me.
So have you got Martinez this year or not?
No. And I'm looking at it, and because I'm in my head, I'm thinking, right, 3 game weeks. I can definitely survive 3 game weeks without him. It's not like he's got like 10 really. Like I think if it was
good,
if Everton's fixtures were Villa's fixtures, I would just go with him, because I know that I just watch it week upon week and think, what have I done here? But I think when it's only the first 3 weeks, there's potential there to kind of move around and make some tweaks elsewhere. And I like the idea of going with a Villa defender to cover those 3 weeks and then moving them on at the end of the 3 weeks and going for somebody else instead. So I do really like that back 3. It looks very similar to mine actually. And then of course you've got 2 really cheap options on the bench there.
Yeah, but I've just gone. I think I was saying you can see the Chelsea theme with it here, can't you? But I like Guaita. I do think Gehi's a brilliant defender. He was one of the best defenders in the Championship last season. And I don't plan on playing him. I do like playing 3-5-2, and those 3 that I've got in those defence will probably be them. And Livramento, I think he's one of the youngsters at Chelsea that had the highest potential. Moved on now. Obviously, he probably plays in the same position as Kyle Walker-Peters, so it's going to be quite difficult for him to get straight in. But I do believe he will be fitted in somewhere because he is that good. But for the minute, those 2 will just stay on my bench, and I'll just probably leave them because I'm like really happy with those those three defenders, like first choice ones. So,
and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is you could spend an extra 0.5 and get somebody that's slightly more likely to play every week. But then if you're not playing them every week, and if the situations are easier this year in terms of we get less issues with teams not playing or players being out, then we should be in a better place for us to just kind of rely on our first and just have backup options on the bench that are backups.
100%, because honestly, last season was obviously the first season. Obviously, it was the weirdest one, but like where people's you had to have a strong bench because you just never knew. And like people were getting 22 points for Dallas off their bench, and I was just like, no, I don't like this. And needs to go back to normal, where you just rely on your first team to do well, and all those players on my bench, because the players on my bench, I'm not really looking at them to be getting points. You know, I think I've got a good enough team, like starting 11. So
I think so. Well, that's a good segue into talking about the midfield, I think, because you just mentioned Dallas there. So you're sticking with Dallas after his heroics last season.
I'm really sad he's now a midfielder. We got away with so for so long him being a defender. But I love the way Leeds play, and that's not going to change.
No,
you know, he's down as a midfielder this time, so obviously you're not going to get the clean sheet points. But I didn't ever have Dallas in my team for Leeds clean sheets. I had Dallas in my team because he was brilliant going forward, and I'm sticking by that. Like if I just look at their fixtures, they've got Man United and Everton first, but we know that they will score goals.
Yeah.
I know you get an extra point for a clean sheet. Exactly, and they're not going to change the way they play. We've seen that. So, and after that, they've got a really nice run of fixtures. And I just think for the price he's 5.5. I don't know if you're going to get many better options in midfield for like that or less. So for the time being, he's going to be there. He is one of those players that I'm maybe a little bit like I'm not like 100% on. There's obviously a few players in my team that won't be going anywhere, but for now I like my midfield.
I mean, it's a lovely midfield, and the compromises of course come with the bench, I suppose, and the fact that it's Dallas over maybe Harrison or Rafinha, but those choices kind of going with that many premiums in the middle, like with obviously the main two in Salah and Bruno, but then Havertz and Grealish as well, it does mean that you've got plenty of flexibility there, because if for any reason one of them doesn't perform or you're not happy with the way your team is, you just sacrifice one of them down to a 6.5 million
and
player,
then you've got
the money you need. So it does work from that perspective.
This is Salah and obviously Bruno were the two that everyone's going to have going into the first part of the season. And I might, Fernandes, I do like the look of Sancho, but I'm just going to wait and see. He won't be available. I don't think he's even gone back there yet properly and started training.
It's easier to come down as well, isn't it? It's easier to go Bruno and come down to Sancho than it is the other way.
Yeah, exactly. So, but obviously Fernandes is obviously Leeds at home, first game of the season. That's a no-brainer. But I really like Havertz, and I think this season I was asked about Chelsea's, what I think is going to happen this season, and I think for me he'll be Chelsea's player of the season. I think we saw little glimpses last season as to what he was about, and he's only going to get better. He played really well for Germany at the Euros as well. And if Chelsea buy a striker, which rumours are we might be buying a certain Romelu Lukaku, that might affect my thinking a little bit, because in my head right now, when I did this team, it was when Lukaku wasn't an option. We were looking to go for Haaland, but probably wasn't going to happen. That bit unrealistic. And Havertz was going to be the main man, with Mount and Werner either side of him. But if we bring in an actual number 9, Havertz isn't going to be the main man. He will still play every week, but I just, in my head, I had it that Havertz was going to be Chelsea's number 9 for the start of the season. And it still might be the case, but he's also one of those players that I might think of moving around if certain additions get bought in, because you then can't guarantee that he's going to be the player that I thought he was going to.
Particularly if you get Lukaku and Messi, like you get them both. Yeah, that's it.
Obviously, yeah.
Just rip the whole team up and start
everyone's
again.
Coming out my team if Lionel Messi comes to the Premier League. Who are talking about
it? If he comes to Chelsea, you can't have him.
Oh yeah, if he comes to Chelsea, Jesus, yeah. I don't even want to think about it. It gets me too excited. But yeah, Havertz is one that I probably will keep for the start of the season, but he might be a sacrifice maybe for a premium striker, which obviously I haven't got. Obviously gone with Grealish as well, and I had Grealish in when he was Villa, and like we were saying, we just looked on the app and it's now changed to a Manchester City shirt. But you can't. Do you spend? Obviously, my worry is he going to start the first game of the season? but can you spend 100 million on a player and not start them? So I think
it's Pep.
Like
Who
I
knows?
say,
Yeah,
and I don't know if I'm ready for this Pep merry-go-round again. The absolute, it just drove me crazy last season, and I ended up having pretty much no City players in my team because I couldn't predict. So I don't want City players. I really don't. I'm staying away from them. But Grealish is one that I think his game will go up another level playing alongside the players he does.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
I think as much as I'm gutted he won't be, on the left of Villa, making Ollie Watkins or setting up Ollie Watkins. I do think, he's going to be a great signing for them, and I think, he'll just get better.
I also do think at his price point as a Man City player, it makes him really attractive looking, because to buy into Manchester City's attacking players, in fact, just to buy into Manchester City generally, whether even in the defence, you still got to pay 6 million for the defenders. You've got to pay substantially more if you want to go Sterling or KDB.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, for the first couple of games of the season, obviously, let's face it, if they buy Harry Kane now, he's not playing against Spurs in that first day. There's not a chance that happens.
He's not even in the country yet, so
he's off on his jollies in Florida, isn't he?
He's still in Florida, so it's like, well, even if he arrives back tomorrow, so Saturday, then he's not playing a week in a week's time, because they've not even had a conversation. There's not even an offer on the table at the moment, so it's not going to happen. But the Grealish ones happen with enough time for him to play in the opening
also
game.
I'm thinking, if they don't sign a striker, is this going to be like a Gundo false nine again? Because and if it is, then I'm happy to take out Grealish and put in Gundo, because Gundo is 100% going to start. He was so good for City. One of their players of the season last season. In that false nine, or just sort of array, he always just seemed to be in the box. No matter where he played, he always just seemed to be there. So I haven't actually thought about him much, but having this conversation's made me actually think that maybe a safer option for game week 1 at least. They've got Norwich.
Game week 1 thing.
Norwich
really
at
tough.
Home.
It's really tough, this, because the game week 1 fixture against Spurs is difficult, because not because it's a difficult fixture for them, because I think they'll easily beat us, to be honest, but I think it's difficult to pick who's going to start in that game, because so many of them have been away on international duty, extended international duty as well. So you've got a lot of players that have been a long way in, the Euros, the Copa America, whatever. So, and then you've got players like Grealish, who of course did go a long way with England, but didn't play a lot of minutes. So there's potential maybe that he plays substantially less minutes than Sterling did, say. But then going into that game against Spurs, what happens with that City attack? Like, is it going to be... Well, I guess we're going to find out more with the Community Shield at the weekend. That's kind of my view on City, is that I'm going to wait and see what Pep does, the kind of team we see at the weekend, because I think Gundogan, if he's going to play in a false nine, becomes really attractive. But if he's going to sit deeper, because you've got Mahrez and KDB and Grealish Foden and Torres and all of these guys ahead of him, and he's going to be basically more of a holding, then it's not worth 7.5 million. I'd rather spend it on Mount, who's the same price. So it's kind of like it's all up in the air. And then you've got these two cheaper forwards. Now, I want to talk about Watkins more than I do Tony, because obviously Tony, I think, is going to be incredibly popular amongst FPL managers.
I think he's going to be in everyone's team.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't do a Pookie of the 1920 season. Like, I hope he actually does live up to expectations. And of course, because it's opening game for him, I think he'll be absolutely buzzing for that game against Arsenal on Friday evening. But Ollie Watkins fascinates me, because he was really, really highly owned until... Wednesday evening, when all of a sudden, out of literally nothing, nowhere, we get this, welcome Danny Ings, and we all kind of went, sorry?
Great.
What? Where's that come from? And of course, now I do think it has a massive impact on Watkins, because they've obviously got Bailey now and Buendia, who are going to be kind of attacking. So that probably means that we're going to see Buendia in behind Danny Ings, with Bailey and Watkins more out on the wing. Now, I don't think it makes Watkins a bad option, but it maybe makes him a less
attractive,
because he's less right in the middle of the action. It's a hard call.
It is, and like I was saying to you a second ago, or before we started recording, that if there is a way that I can fiddle about with my team and get Danny Ings in the team, then I will probably try and do that, because I thought, Watkins last season was brilliant. Such a great option. He's just always in the box. Everything fell to him. And he was just he was a brilliant asset to have. But yeah, he's not a winger.
No.
He is an out and out number 9. The way he plays, his game is in the box pretty much.
Yeah.
He's not going to be one of those players that gets the ball on the wing, like a Leon Bailey is an out and out winger. Like that's, you know, he loves getting the ball, running at people. Ollie Watkins isn't like that.
No.
So yeah, I think if I sit down next week, I want to give myself as little time to think about this as possible because otherwise it just drives me crazy. So next week, I'm obviously back at work. I'm going to sit down and see if there's a way that maybe I can get Danny in, because he might be on penalties as well. Like,
well, I would have thought so, because last season we didn't really have a specific penalty taker at Aston Villa. So they were taken around. Loads of people took them, and not everyone scored them. I've kind of, in the panic of Wednesday night, I was like, I don't want you anymore. It's really upset me. I'll take you out. And I decided to go with Antonio at West Ham, because fixtures are quite nice for them. And I thought, well, you've had a rest this summer. You've not been away on international duty. I'll bring you in. And that seems to have worked quite well. And instead, I've done Buendia in the middle, on the basis that I think he's going to be the most assist likely player across the Aston Villa team. So I've kind of gone Buendia feeding the ball to Danny Ings. Feels like that's a lot of goals to me. So I've kind of done that instead. But knowing that it's relatively easy for me to go back to Watkins.
Yeah.
Particularly when the Aston Villa fixtures turn... so the Aston Villa fixtures turn after game week 3 and then they turn back again. A similar sort of time to when the West Ham fixtures take their first turn for the worst and the Europa League stuff.
Oh, so actually you might be able to...
I might be able to have a little juggle up between the two of them. But I think it's hard picking those forward guys. Amazing.
Like they've got so many good options now, Villa. And yes, none of them can replace Jack Grealish, but I love Emu Buendia. I thought he was brilliant for Norwich, and I think in a better team he's going to be absolutely brilliant. I think I haven't really even thought about Buendia, or really any of the Villa, like sort of just like behind the strikers. But now that like Watkins isn't going to be playing as their number 9, I think that will come into my mind when I actually sit down and probably I don't know, it'd probably be like Friday afternoon, knowing me. I try and fiddle around with it, but you know, I'm not set on Jack Grealish for City, you know, and if I move to Gundogan, I don't know what the price difference is there, but I imagine Gundo's probably less than Grealish.
Yeah, he's 0.5 cheaper. He's 7.5.
So like, yeah, if there is a way that I can fiddle about and maybe get Danny Ings in, I probably won't go to Villa options, like then I won't go a striker and then a midfielder as well. I'll probably just stick with getting Danny Ings in. I think he's the one that I think and if he can stay fit, especially for those first 3 games, you know, he's gonna play. He's gonna start as 100%. Their main striker with Watkins on the left. So we've seen that before actually. Watkins has come out onto the left a few times last season for Villa. So yeah, and Ivan Toney, I really like the look of him. I can't say I sat and watched every Brentford game from last season, but those first 5 fixtures, even Arsenal really, you know, Arsenal at home, they're going to be, like you say, well up for that. Like Arsenal aren't exactly a team that, you know, we're going to have a great defensive record. If Tony wants to get at them, they're the exact team. Yeah, they're the exact team that he would be able to actually go and like properly exploit.
First Premier League game in front of the fans. Like that is exactly the sort of game I think. Well, look, let's be frank. The first game of the season is always a bit random. Like we always get ridiculous score lines. It's never straightforward. It's always high scoring. Think back to Liverpool last year against Leeds. Liverpool again against Norwich. There's a lot of kind of big things that happen in those opening day fixtures that you're not really expecting to happen. And I would not put it past Brentford to give Arsenal a game. It'd be scoring from both sides. Like, we had a game a couple of seasons ago, didn't we? Where it was Leicester and Arsenal to start the season, and I remember that being like 4-3, wasn't
game.
It? And you can see Arsenal being involved in a similar thing again this time around. So
like I can see. That's like almost one of the perfect fixtures for Brentford. You know, like
Derby as well.
London Derby, they'll be so up for it. Arsenal aren't exactly in the best of places right now. I don't really think they sort of know what's going on with their team. So I think that's the perfect fixture for someone like Tony. But obviously it's not off-putting, but everyone's going to have him. Like I can see he's already selected by 30% of managers, and I think that's going to go up.
Yeah, it's the fear of the price drop if he doesn't start well. So I'm going to own him for sure, but I'm just going to be keeping a very close eye on the price rises and falls so that I don't lose 0.1, because if you lose 0.1 this early on in the season, it's really difficult to replace them.
It makes such a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I had Shea Adams to start the season last year, and he dropped 0.1, and it just was like, right, you just got to stay then. You're just going to have to stay, because I haven't got the 0.1 to make you anybody else. So, and in the end, it was fine. He stayed, and he did go back up 0.1 off 3 or 4 weeks later. So it was like, right, now you go. As soon as you come back up, you go.
I can make that fun.
But I think, that's the one thing I'll be watching out for with Tony, because I also look at the Norwich fixtures from game week 5 and think that looks prime for a Pookie party from 5 to 13. Apart from the Chelsea game in game week 9, but I think I can see myself going Tony to Pookie around game week 5 and having a bit of fun with the Norwich boys then. But yeah, I think to start the season, you're looking at Tony, aren't you?
I think that's a great shout as well, because Norwich, we saw 2 years ago when they came up, and they're not like Leeds, but they very much tried to play football, and they tried to play, and that was obviously their downfall in the end, because they just didn't quite have the players that were good enough like Leeds do to sort of keep that up and keep it going. But they'll be exactly the same this season. They will come to games, they'll try and play football, and that's why I'm probably not going to own any Norwich defenders. Maybe Max Aarons was one I was looking at on the cheaper side, because I know he'll get forward. But I think they're still going to play the way they're going to play nice football. Pookie will get chances and he'll score goals. He will. So
you can maybe go Aarons from 5. Look at him from game week 5 when you want to make some other changes.
They're good fixtures. Yeah,
they're really nice, the fixtures then. Olivia, thank you so much for coming to talk to me today. It's been brilliant. I will look forward to seeing if you make any changes. I can't see Havertz going anywhere though, I suspect.
No, it's either going to be Havertz or Mount. So one of it, or maybe even Lukaku. Who knows?
Or Messi, if you get really lucky.
I love it. Oh,
thanks so much, Sam. Soon. Take care.
See you later.